Yesterday I talked about the 4 steps to take before putting an offer in on a home. And hopefully that offer gets accepted. So today I'm going to talk about the steps you take from contract to close. The first thing that I like to do once we are officially under contract is I like to make sure that I or my buyer client sends those documents, the contract documents, over to the lender and the title company so that they can begin their process. Step number 2 is submitting earnest money. So the standard timeline is 3 days, although that is subject to change depending on how you write your offer. But in that earnest money period, you have to actually submit that earnest money to some type of escrow holding company. Earnest money is best described as an act of good faith. You're putting some money into the deal to demonstrate to the seller that you're serious about the offer you're writing and that you intend on following through with that contract. Once earnest money is submitted, and honestly, probably before earnest money is submitted, you want to make sure that if you have an inspection period built into your contract, that you start reaching out to inspectors to make sure that they can get into the home and provide a comprehensive report by the time your inspection period is up. Now, in the Missouri residential sale contract, the default timeline for that inspection period is 10 days, but again, this timeline can be adjusted based on how you write your offer. Once you get the inspection report back, you submit an inspection notice, which basically lists any requests that you might have based on the inspection. Once you receive your inspection report, it's time to submit an inspection notice. This notice will include a list of requests that you have for the seller based on the findings from your inspections. The seller is under no obligation to meet these requests that you've submitted, but this is just another opportunity to renegotiate based on your findings. After you submit the initial inspection notice, you then have 10 days to renegotiate and reach a resolution based on that inspection notice. So you might submit a list of repairs, the seller submits back what they will do, and hopefully you can come to an agreement within a 10-day period. Again, this time frame is based on the documents that I use in my sales. These are the standard St. Louis residential sales contracts, so they may not apply nationwide. Step number 4, which is also happening simultaneously as you're going through the inspection period, is your insurability period. So really, right when you go under contract, you also want to be making a phone call to your insurance agent so that they can confirm that they can insure the house that you're buying. Getting insurance is not only important for your comfort level as a buyer, but it's also important if you're taking on a mortgage. A lot of mortgage lenders will require that you have the property insured before they'll actually lend to you. Step number 5 I have marked as riders, and these timelines can vary quite a bit depending on which riders you attach. One of the most common riders that we see is the appraisal rider. And basically what the appraisal rider is stating is that if you purchase a home for a certain price, or if you go under contract for a certain price and you get that home appraised, if that appraisal doesn't come back at or above the value that you submitted toward your purchase price, you will have the opportunity to renegotiate and hopefully reach a resolution with the seller. Step number 6, which actually doesn't fall on the shoulders of the buyer usually, but rather on the seller, is the governmental inspections and occupancy permit period. So this is stating that the seller needs to reach out to their municipality and have an inspection conducted so that they are certifying that the home is able to be occupied. Next is the title and survey period. And in the standard contract, this goes up to 25 days from the contract acceptance date. Basically what this states is that if your title company finds any problems with the survey or title defects, that you have the opportunity to submit that notice to the seller within 25 days of going under contract. So you'll want to make sure that if you do plan on getting a survey, that you order it relatively quickly, because sometimes the survey companies can be backed up. You want to make sure that they can get in there within that period. The next step, and this is why we submit contracts to title and lending right off the bat, is because the next step is your financing contingency period. So in this market, we've seen a lot of financing contingencies actually removed from contracts. But if you include a financing contingency, you can make that contingency timeline as short as long as you want. But the standard timeline based on this residential sales contract is 30 days. And basically what this is saying is that if you are unable to get financing based on the terms set forth in the contract, then you have the opportunity to terminate the contract without breach of contract. So you'll want to make sure that whatever that timeline is for you, that your lender can confirm that they are able to lend to you on this purchase by that time. And again, this is why we submit contracts to title and lending right away, because while these steps are those that I'm listing out, lenders and title, they have their own processes which take multiple steps. They'll be reaching out to you throughout the process, but you want to make sure that they can get started the same day we do. And finally, we have our final walkthrough. This typically takes place about 1 to 3 days before closing. And during the final walkthrough, you're just going through to make sure the house is as it was when you submitted the contract, as well as, when you had inspections, if you did have them. So you want to go through and look for any loss or damages that may have occurred to the property in the meantime. So long as everything goes well with the final walkthrough and the loan documents are ready to go, the lenders have balanced with title, then it'll be time to meet at the closing table. You can sign your T's and dot your I's. Congratulations, you just bought a house.